Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I am Matt Connarton, and with me to my right is Gary Hopper has once again shape-shifted and has taken the form of the Honorable John Hikel.
How you doing, Matt?
Good.
Good to see you. Great to be here again.
Oh, so you really are John Hikel?
Well, no, I'm Gary. I'm channeling Gary.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because usually Gary yells at me or something. He's like, Matt, how you doing? It scares me.
Right. No, I'm just channeling. I'm channeling the quiet Gary.
Can I just tell you, John, and I appreciate you rolling with the joke, because we had, I don't know if you know this, we had Phil Griazzo on once, sitting in Gary's seat.
Nice.
And guest
In this
hosting.
seat?
In this seat. And I tried to do the shape-shifting joke with Phil.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love Phil, and he's a friend, but he just shut me right down on it. He did, Gary is shapeshifted, and he's taking the form of Phil Griazzo, and Phil immediately is like, no shapeshifting here. I'm Phil Griazzo. And it's like, oh, Phil, you're killing me. It could have been funny, but and we also have, of course, returning to the show, Gus Breton.
Nice to be here.
So, Gus, haven't seen you in a while.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get rolling, of course, condolences to Amy Perkins. Was that her name?
Oh,
Yes.
what a sad. Yeah.
That's why
Great
Gary's
friend.
Yeah.
Good friend of all of ours. She was a beautiful lady, and her husband. We feel so sorry for both of them.
Yeah, I never had the
especially
opportunity
Amy.
to meet her, but Gary and I talked last night, and he explained to me, and that's why
What a star.
Gary's not here today. I believe the wake was today, and,
Yes.
and so Gary's taking the night off this week.
Yeah, that's a tough one to handle sometimes. 42 years old, 44 years old, right? Yeah.
So young.
Brain cancer.
That's terrible.
It's,
That can happen to anybody, unfortunately.
Rest in peace, Amy.
So absolutely. I do want to mention too, before we get rolling.
She was a legislator, by the way. So
Yeah.
She was a state legislator. She served with me and Gary and the rest of us up in the New Hampshire House.
Yeah, when Gary and I talked last night, I mean,
And her husband as well.
told me about how much he respected her, and
Beautiful.
really good person. So that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Before we get rolling too, just a couple quick programming notes. Tonight, immediately after Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades at 7 p.m., I'm going to be a guest on a show called, it's got a long name, and wow, I'm forgetting the name of the show, Taking Control of Your Health. It's on the Dr. Kevin Radio Network. Go to drkevinradionetwork.com. Tricia Facklides was a guest on my show last night, the Matt Connarton Show, which also is on the Dr. Kevin Radio Network. So tonight I will be a guest on Tricia's show. So right after Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades, if you're online at 7 p.m., go to drkevinradionetwork.com, and I will be a guest on Tricia's show talking about hypnosis and hypnotherapy, because for those who don't know, I am also, politics isn't my only passion, I'm also a professional hypnotherapist. I help people to lose weight and stop smoking and things like that. So I'll be on Tricia's show tonight at 7 p.m. So I hope you take a listen. As soon as we're done here, I head down the hall and jump online and open up Skype and hope for the best. So, and the other thing too I want to mention, for those who don't know, Mansterdam, which used to be on Wednesday nights right here at MPTS, and of course we run it on IPM Nation as well. That used to be at 11 p.m., but effective this week, immediately, it will be on at 10 p.m. So don't go turning your TV on looking for Mansterdam at 11. It is now an hour earlier at 10 p.m. going forward. Tom Ford, host of Stir It Up, has apparently taken his ball and gone home. So,
Wow.
C'est la vie.
Doesn't like to play.
I guess not.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that.
Tom doesn't always play well with others, and what can you do?
Well, you can. Yeah.
So no more.
Don't pick
Stir
him
It
for
Up.
your team.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
So Mansterdam is now at 10.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on Mansterdam?
I have never.
No. John Burt's been on a bunch of times. He always plays Santa Claus on the Christmas show, just like he does on the show.
He's a riot.
Yeah,
God.
I haven't seen John in a while.
John is a great friend. You know, he's running for selectman for town of Goffstown.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he is. He's got a heck of a race ahead of him.
Yeah.
I'm in it also. I'm running for the planning board again. So
Yeah, you've got your sign there.
We're definitely engaged with town politics
Yep.
and state politics.
Yep.
John and I and Mark Warden, we're all up for re-election and
Yeah. Very
giving
good.
it everything we have.
Now, how come, Gus, why don't you run for something?
I don't know how to make that kind of time.
Yeah.
I'm a carpenter. I work in Boston, and between the traveling back and forth, I have no idea. I don't know how John does it.
Yeah,
He's my mechanic, and I hang out at his shop, and we talk stuff, shop. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I see his schedule. I have no idea how people do it, especially for the I mean, they're not even getting paid.
Yeah,
Not really.
No, we don't get paid. It certainly costs us a lot more.
$100 is not a
right. 100 in and a whole bunch out isn't a good deal.
no.
So
right.
So yeah.
And when you own a business and you have to walk away,
Right.
Yeah.
If I were to do anything like that, I'd have to work second or third shift, and then when are you supposed to sleep?
Right, exactly. Yeah, we can get a lot done when you just give up.
I'm fortunate to have really good help.
Yeah.
They're punctual. They're on. Everything is good. They communicate with me, and thank God for these, smartphones that we can get information at any time we need it.
Yeah, you must go through a lot of coffee though.
I'm
sure you're like me and just don't sleep much because you're so damn busy.
Right. Well, every customer that comes in usually brings one. So
there you go.
So I've got.
There's a lot of us who visit John.
And it's like
it's automatic. Just bring a coffee.
John was able to help me with my brake lights recently, so I appreciate that a lot. Got me in on short notice, which was great.
Fix anything for any car, and it's just my garage is like Floyd's barbershop on Mayberry. We get people coming in there. Sometimes there's more people in there talking about everything else but cars.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's a riot, and I like it just as much as fixing their cars.
John's shop closes at 5 p.m. and there's times that I've driven by there at 7 and like the place is full.
Yeah.
People are standing inside 2 hours later.
Yeah. Just good just good people. We're not talking nothing in particular, just everything that's going on with people's in people's lives politically and
Uptown Auto. What's the address?
578 Mass Road in Bernardville, next to Dunkin' Donuts and across from the Rite Aid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fix anything for any car. And,
very good.
Pay if I don't fix it. So that's motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go.
Yeah.
So what do you guys want to talk about? What's going on? What's happening
There's
in
a
your
lot
world?
going on. We're working on redress. John's working on being reelected to the planning board. He's the chairman right now.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a tough race. He's got some pretty stiff competition. Yeah.
And sure
it's. So we're doing a lot. I'm not sure what you want to get into first, but
you know what? Actually, before we get into
planning board for Goffstown.
You know what I want to ask you first, John, before we go any further, because this goes back to very early conversations. Whatever happened with the whole? You were looking into about the oath, the oath that you take.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We found a lot. And we found that
as a selectman, or as a planning board.
Yeah, there's two. There's different oaths. There's a state oath for governors and senator elected state officials.
Yeah,
and then there's and sheriffs and commissioners, representatives and state senators. And then there's one for the but that's not the oath. Article Part 2, Article 84 of the New Hampshire Constitution. That oath is not specific for town officials, which is a little bit.
It's a different oath.
It's a different oath.
It's a different oath.
It's a different oath, and
it's a different purpose.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of probably made by the town charter. It's probably made by a. It's not a constitutional oath that. But they take words out of it, but it's not the oath.
The one thing they both have in common is if you violate your oath, nobody can do anything about it. That's what they have in common.
Right. They both have that in common, right? You can violate it and not get in trouble for it.
No accountability.
Right. And what I was searching for was accountability to that violation. Yeah. And what I found was we all have an oath. Many of us took one, but there's nothing you can do if you break it. And it's a little disheartening, but it's.
Wasn't there also a question though about the oath that you take as a state legislator that there's you have to sign it like it's different than you sign it in a weird spot and something and
you sign it in a weird spot. They have they have the word signature, and then about an inch below that is some black line.
Yeah.
That everybody signs this black line, but nobody ever signs underneath the word signature.
Yeah.
Look at every contract you have. And you sign on a line that says signature.
Right.
The word is below the line or on the line, but you never see a word signature up here and a line an inch below it.
There's something fishy going on.
Yeah.
The words are fishy. We only sign it one time. Sheriffs and commissioners and judges, notary publics, they all sign it twice.
Yeah.
So there are two oaths in there. We only sign it once, and they have it witnessed by a notary and a JP, And we have it notarized. We don't have it notarized, so nobody notarizes our signature.
Wow.
We take it in a mass.
But it has to be done, I think, before the executive council.
The governor
Don't you
issued.
have-
The governor. I think the governor.
Somebody
issued
has
it,
to be
yeah.
present, right, when you guys do your oath as a legislature.
Yes. All of us meet
Together?
Yeah, we all meet together, and we all swear to this, and we read it. And I believe the governor was the one that read it to us. And,
Huh.
So you sign it, but again, it's accountability. The whole thing about government to me is accountability.
Right.
And if you're standing next to me, nobody knows if you signed my oath.
Right.
Nobody knows if I signed your oath.
Yeah.
And if somebody else signs my oath, which they didn't, but if somebody else does, nobody can say.
John actually took his oath and left with it, and went and got it. He went and got it signed. He got it notarized by a justice of the peace.
Oh, really?
And he actually made sure that his oath was done the same way the judges' oaths are done.
Oh, okay.
And I think
I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, yeah. I had mine signed twice.
I think George Lambert did the same thing.
Oh, no kidding.
There's
Yeah.
a
Oh,
few
wow.
people that are they see that it's
They
different.
saw that I
It's-
did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so I'm just trying to bring accountability to that position, and any state rep that's done that, they understand that they signed one time,
Right.
and I could show them there's something definitely different about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but for sure, we have a statute 92:2 that that you have to take that oath in order to serve in the House, and if you violate that oath, you shall be removed. Hence.
Forthwith or something like that.
Or something like that, which means from now on,
Yeah.
you can't return.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's ever been removed for
No kidding.
for that violation.
That's
Yeah, it's great to know that you can be removed, but how are we, the people, supposed to hold our elected officials accountable?
Right.
What's the process? Yeah, and I met John 6 years ago, and it's one of the first conversations we had.
Yeah.
And since then, John has checked with a lot of other people. I've looked up online. I've done research. You look for perjury of oath of office because it's an oath.
Sure.
Yeah, you swear under oath.
Okay.
So perjury of oath, breach of oath. There are no statutes. There is nothing that is criminally covering this at all. Not only that, there's no civil penalty. There's nothing. You can't sue somebody for violating their oath of office. There's nothing I can find.
Yeah.
And John has looked for it. Other people have looked for it. It's very difficult to find anything at all, even on the Executive Council website. One time I did a Google search, and it brought me to their website where somebody actually asked the question, how do you hold somebody accountable? And one of the executive members at the time, this is like in 2008, 2009, I don't know if it was an executive member that answered, but somebody from that website answered that they had no idea.
And so many representatives, and senators, we take our job serious.
Yeah.
I mean, we go there because we think something's going to get done, and we go there because we care, and we want to make a difference.
Right.
And,
right.
Well, this brings us to Article 38. Okay, Article 38 of the New Hampshire Bill of Rights says that legislators and judges, representatives and judges, magistrates, are accountable to an exact and constant adherence to the fundamental principles of the Constitution, the social virtues, moderation, and other things. But this is part of their oath of office. They're taking an oath to support this.
Yeah.
And what we've been doing is we've been trying to figure out how to have accountability. And if they violate Article 38, then they're violating their oath of office. And under Article 31, we have the right to redress for our grievances. So when somebody, a judge or a legislator, violates their oath of office, they have breached the public trust.
Yeah.
And that grieves me. I'm the public. And so I can bring in a petition. Article 31 says that the legislature, both the Senate and the House, shall meet in convention and listen to your petition. Because when you bring in a petition, you're representing the whole population of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
You're representing the people. Because if you've been harmed by something the government's doing, other people also have.
Right.
That's the only process we've found. There is no other way. And redress the Republicans there was a supermajority elected in 2010. The Democrats regained control in 2012. First thing the Democrats did, the Republicans created the Redress Committee to get this process started again because it hadn't been heard. Petitions hadn't been heard since the 1950s.
Sure.
So the Republicans brought it back, and the Democrats regained control of the House, and they immediately got rid of it. And then shortly thereafter, they took a petition from 1779 to free a bunch of slaves and brought that forward and granted 14 people their freedom.
Yeah.
So let's get rid of the process, but we're going to slap you in the face and do this anyway. I'll show you
right.
how it's really done.
Right.
It's just, come on.
250 years later, we granted them their freedom.
Yeah. Better
So-
late than never.
Yeah, well, I think that was the point. Yeah.
People are grieved today. People are planning. John's running for the planning board. There's people who. There's one guy who's got a farm. He's got a big farm. He's got cows already. He wants more cows. He doesn't want 300 cows. I think he wants a half a dozen more cows. He's going through this whole process of trying to get 6 more cows on a 300-acre farm. Come on.
250-year-old.
It's his property.
Farm.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of the things that came to our planning board in Goffstown. And I sat there. I listened to them. I listened to the applicants talk about why are they there? And I'm sitting there listening to people questioning them.
Yeah.
12 cows milking. The problem wasn't the bovine. It wasn't the animal. It was the milk. That was the problem with this operation because they were going to consider it commercial. They had to set up this leach field and this gray water system, and is it draining towards the road? Is it draining back? These people have been farming for 250 years on this property.
Yeah.
And that's basically what I said by the end of the meeting when they were all, when the board was deliberating and debating this whole thing. I said, leave the farmers alone.
Yeah,
Let them farm. These are landowners. They were some of the first people that came to this area. Probably in covered wagons 250 years ago.
But it's their property.
300 years ago. And it's their property. And, I mean, they got a cemetery. I mean, this is their property. Leave them alone. Let the farmers farm.
What is it that happens with these people who just... Is it that some people just love bureaucracy? What is... I mean, since you've seen it up close, I mean, how do you...
Absolutely. Control and bureaucracy.
Is that what it's about?
They love feeding that. And this is the other thing. When I'm running for office, and no matter what office I run for, the people elect me. And therefore, I owe it to the people to represent them because they grant the authority, they grant their authority to me to represent them and to protect them against the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
That's how I look at being elected to office.
Yeah.
A lot of folks, when they get elected to office, all of a sudden they forget who elected them, and they become part of that bureaucracy, and they start questioning the applicants that come in front of them that are asking to be granted permission to do something on their own property.
Right.
So, that's where I different between most other candidates, and I have 2 candidates I'm opposing in Goffstown, and they talk about it. They're interviewing. They're talking about it on Goffstown TV. They're talking about how they need more regulations. They need to plan properly, and they need all this government intervention in all these people's lives.
Yeah.
And I'd say, to a point, plan responsibly. But let people enjoy their investments in their land.
Yeah.
One of
Their home is their castle. I can go on this.
Yeah.
So
well, John
this
is
one of
my
those hot
state rep,
topics.
and Mark Warden and John Burt, and I know these guys. These are people that are one thing they understand, which makes them very different from other people, is the purpose of government. And if you look at the Declaration of Independence, it says that the purpose of government is to secure, protect your rights, your unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So Article 38, for instance, the bottom line, the last line of Article 38 is the bottom line. Mm-hmm. The government is to make laws for the good administration of government. Well, what is the government set up for? It's set up to protect your property. Yeah. And Mark Warden and John Burt and John Hikel understand this, and this is what sets them apart from everybody else. Other people want to control your property. They want to control your rights. They don't have the authority to do that. They've never been delegated that authority.
Right.
So that's where, that's the difference. And I'm so glad of the process in Goffstown because so many times boards and committees and elected officials, it's choosing. How many times have we said, well, we're picking the lesser of two evils?
Mm-hmm.
How many times do we have two choices between one that's not very good and one that's really bad?
Right.
So we've kind of gotten used to those officials. Yeah. Right now in the Goffstown elections, the planning board and the board of selectmen, they have choices. Either you allow government to be more restrictive and more intrusive on your property rights, or you elect me and Mark Warden, for instance, and you allow the planning board to be a more applicant responsive and friendly and less regulatory board.
Yeah.
When the applicant comes in front of the board, they shouldn't be shaking and nervous that they're going to get turned down, and they've never come to a board before, and all of a sudden they're scared to ask, can I put a porch in my house?
Do you see that a lot? Are people nervous when they come in?
Oh, they're very nervous because Goffstown has been. I don't know about me. I don't know that much about Manchester, how they've been here, but most planning boards throughout the state, and throughout the country, probably once you when you're sitting there, they take this position as what are you doing?
What are you asking of the king?
What are you asking of the king? Because I'm the first. I'm at the gate. I'm the gatekeeper.
And that's a lot more pronounced with attorneys.
And I'm not. I'm like, come on in. What can we do for you? What can we help you enjoy your property? Yeah. Because when you need to get a permit to do something, you're asking the master for permission to do something. Yep. And when you need a permit or a license, you're asking the master for permission to do something that's otherwise illegal.
Yeah.
And I know that there should be rules. There should be ordinances. There is statute. I believe that there should be some sort of, regulation. But people are pretty responsible.
Right.
Don't bother your neighbor. Don't intrude on their enjoyment of theirs. Don't pollute their land. Don't pollute my water. Don't pollute my air and everybody else's.
Right.
And enjoy your investment.
Yeah.
How about this? How about you go in for a permit to be able to do something, right?
Yeah.
If they grant you permit, then was it unlawful to begin with? Are they saying, yes, you can do something that's unlawful, but only by our permission?
Right.
Or the government is there by the consent of the people, not by, the people are not there by the consent of the legislature.
Right. Yeah.
And I think boards throughout the state and the country, I think they have that wrong. Yeah. I think that they should be there to represent the people when they come in front of them. And I see that at the planning board. And the Goffstown Planning Board over the years has been horrendous.
Really?
They've been the board of no. They've had people, and one of my opponents, they dusted him off and put him back on the ballot. And he was on the ballot for 19 years.
Yeah.
And then he quit and he went and did something else. Now he's back on because I'm trying to offer the people the right, offer them their property rights back.
Yeah.
And he's saying, no, we need to be responsible. And this is what we did in my tenure as a planning board member over 19 years. And I look at it, I go, what? Yeah. What plan?
Just said no
to
everything?
The plan to say no? The plan to keep Goffstown stifled? The plan to have 8% commercial tax base and a 92 residential tax base where everything that's done is put right on the shoulders of the taxpayer. Mm-hmm. Manchester has a much higher commercial industrial tax base than Goffstown, even percentage-wise, even though there's a big difference in size.
Yeah.
Bedford, Hooksett, Nashua, Merrimack, all these surrounding communities. It's time for Goffstown not to be and we're on the border of Manchester.
Right.
We've got a huge piece of property on the Goffstown back road where the radio towers are. There's 80 acres near this. It's a restricted because of the weight limit. It's zoned industrial it's been for sale for 20, 25 years.
Wow.
And I say, everybody says, well, how come all the reasons why it never sold, and they're blaming the weight limit restriction from 9:30 to 6 a.m. They're blaming everything. I blame it's too expensive. If something doesn't sell in 25 years, it probably costs too much.
Right. What's an example? Do you have an example of the most infuriating thing?
I'm a little heated.
So. No, that's good. It's good for the show. It's rock, paper, hand grenades.
That's
you can be our live hand grenade.
I
sure
am.
We don't have here with this hand grenade.
I'm your,
What's the most infuriating thing you've run into? Is it the cows thing, or what? Or is there an example of something where you just went, really? Are you kidding? Why can't we just?
All of them. Whenever the majority of the board is looking at the applicant like they're they're like they shouldn't be doing something.
Right. We have a call.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome to Rock Paper Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
This would be Gary.
Ah, so you aren't really Gary shapeshifting.
Well, that's me.
No, that's not really me. Or
is this really
Hikel
you?
has a dual. I have a dual personality, maybe, and one of them is John Hikel.
How do we know it's you?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You sound like Eric on Howard Stern.
What?
Say something else. Say Howard.
Huh? I didn't catch that. You lost me, but that's easy.
Gary only hears compliments.
I called in. First of all, set the record straight. I didn't actually go to the funeral today.
Oh, okay.
I'm going through some radiation treatment, and my body is not enjoying it a lot.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to the funeral, but I didn't end up going because I'm just not comfortable enough.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. You're in a lot of pain these days.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a pain. I've heard that from other people. Hey, so anyway, my question for Mr. Hikel, and then I'll take my answer off the air, is because I totally agree with the conversation. I've known people that, for instance, tried to start a business in Ware, and it was just like pulling teeth to get any information of what they needed to do or how they needed to do it. To me, the whole process should be so streamlined. They give you a booklet and gives you exact information of who you need to see and what parameters there are for you to begin a business. It should be business friendly. So
Absolutely.
Tax burdens and stuff. But my question for John is kind of comment on that idea, and secondarily, I'm very suspicious of all these the lawyers on some of these planning boards. Like, how much money do they get when they are able to get a certain plan through, such as the workforce housing across from his business in Goffstown? I mean, do they make money on that? Do they have investors that, they run those legal process through the attorneys?
Well, the ones I have talked to, Gary, say they don't have any
office and stuff like that. Where's the money? Because that to me is what the root of this is. If they're telling people they can't do A, B, C, and D, well, there's something's going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Because
got to be a reason.
It's like quite a scam.
Well, we know that you always follow the money, right? So
right.
we know that. So if anybody thinks that you don't follow the money, they need to start thinking follow the money.
Right.
So we know when you get people, and we had a plan Bernardville, for instance. Bernardville, they put a line around Bernardville, basically from the Manchester line to the Piscataquag, to St. A's, and up to Route 114, 114A intersection before the prison in Goffstown. They had that redlined off where they had all of these zoning changes. People came out in huge numbers to reject this HUD grant that was given to the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority that was passed along through Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission and one of the regional planning commissions. And then they may have a purpose, but there was a lot of strings attached to this. And on the planning, on the ad hoc committee for the Plan Bernardville, there was an attorney that was representing some of the developers. Everybody had an interest in something in it. There was an architect. There was another guy, and all of a sudden, when you started removing that area where that person happened to live or work or whatever his domain was, they would stop coming to the committee as well. So once you started seeing that, we started shaving down that Plan Bernardville area, that the people that now they're not affected or they have no stake in that anymore or no opportunity to gain, they started leaving the committee. And so then I started realizing,
Right.
holy smoke!
Right.
And then I looked at that we paid this company $50,000. The selectman didn't read the contract. They didn't realize that when they take money from HUD and from New Hampshire Housing Finance, there's a contract attached to that.
Yeah.
And so they took that $50,000. We paid some guy out of Tennessee to tell us what Penardville should look like in the future. And they cut away people's backyards, front yards. They took away their driveways. They made everybody. The plan would be to come into the back of the house, to have alleys, so people were losing parts of their front yard, their backyard, their setbacks. Everything was
Eminent
changing.
domain. Yeah.
Well, eminent domain. I mean, they were changing this neighborhood. And we paid this company $50,000. Now, they're at the closed down, the Bank of America location that was closed, and that was kind of their Plant Penardville headquarters. They're looking across the street at Shaw's Plaza for an entire week, drawing up plans for Penardville, what they think would be a good fit for Penardville. And they have apartment buildings in Shaw's Plaza with no parking left for Shaw's Plaza. Pizza Hut's gone. And that's when I saw that, and I said, you know what, this isn't going to work. Now I'm going to work as hard as I can to kill this plan Penardville.
Yeah.
The problem is, I think there's a smart code left on this that we kept getting delayed from one of the attorneys that happens to be on the board with me. So we butt heads quite a bit because I think this smart code, which is going to allow Plan Penardville on steroids, is going to affect other neighborhoods within Goffstown.
Yeah.
Because that zoning issue, that smart code, is still alive.
Okay.
They said it isn't, but I don't believe them.
Well, that was a vote that Mark Warden had put in that night to kill everything that had to do with Planned Penardville.
Right.
Yeah.
And this attorney was saying, well, that's kind of rough. We should at least give him credit for doing a good job. And so she changed, manipulated the vote so that there was a back door.
Yeah.
Right. Right, exactly. And that was kind of split. So Mark took this out of that, and we killed Plan Penardville, but we didn't kill the smart code. And the smart code and the planning board had that authority to do it, but we didn't do it because
she opened the door.
She opened the door, and it's still alive and well. That's why people in Goffstown, if you don't want this to affect, I know they probably don't get it there, but Manchester too. There was an issue going on your 2nd Street, is it, or South Main Street, right?
Yeah.
And that might be a good area to look at. I don't know, but I think that the town people, the people in the local neighborhoods have the foresight and the direction and know what they want to do with their own community.
Right.
You don't need to hire people from 1,000 miles away to come in and tell you what's best for your neighborhood.
And these plans don't just pop up. They don't just we got some new people and we've decided we should do something different. There's roundabouts that are planned.
I hate those.
These plans come out 10 years, 15 years before, and they get more detailed as they come through, but the general plan of what's coming down the pike, in your area is from 5 or 10 or 15 years ago.
Sure.
Now we're talking about.
The thing is, the 5-year plan worked really good in Russia.
Russia.
Right? I mean, they really progressed greatly when they had a nice long 5 or 10-year plan of how they were going to do things. Hey, the other question I had for you guys, and I really got to get off the air because I got to take more drugs.
Okay.
Is the UNH professor? He teaches German, but because he exposed himself to some kids or whatever, he isn't allowed to teach, but he's still making $88,000 a year. Right. So my question is, do you guys know who to talk to so that I can get a job not teaching German for $88,000 a year? Because I am easily qualified to do that.
We just have to expose yourself, Gary.
Well, I don't understand. Really, if you follow it, it doesn't make any sense that the rest of the professors aren't exposing themselves so that they can make whatever the heck they're making and not have to actually teach too.
Do you have to be German?
Maybe you have to be speaking German while exposing yourself.
Yeah.
I think UNH.
I don't know. You guys should check into it because it seems like most of the professors would start well, that's easy, and just start taking their clothes off during class, and then next thing you know, they're freaking on leave and getting paid buku dollars for staying home and playing Nintendo.
Right. Well, you know, we joke about it, right? But on the state level, when this stuff comes into the legislature, and you know, Gary, you know, there's a major flaw going on with UNH. There's a ton of money there. They were crying poverty. They said they didn't have any money.
Yeah.
But they came up with $20 million to build a new field house or track field house or a sports.
UNH is supported by taxpayer dollars.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And UNH.
Hey, I'm gonna get going, guys. You have fun.
Thanks,
All right,
thanks
Gary.
thanks for starting this, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
and
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.
and anything that is supported by taxpayers is an extension of the legislature.
Right.
One
That's
way or
right.
another,
Yeah.
the legislature's involved in its creation, whether it charters a town or charters a school. You know, UNH and Dartmouth, they've been around a long time. But this money going in there is something, you know, if you don't agree with what they're doing, especially on something like this, wouldn't you agree this is a proper ground for a petition?
This would be a great ground for redress.
A redress petition,
Absolutely.
Article 31.
Yes.
People have been being grieved by what UNH is doing.
Yeah.
And
Now, UNH is a gem to the state. There's no question about it.
Oh, sure.
They've got
Yeah,
a great
absolutely.
sports. They've got a great education program.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are a true gem to the state. But I think, like everything else, there's things that happen that they happen so fast, and we can't all keep watching over everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I was there last year when we were talking about their budgets, and you know, all was going to fall apart if we passed some of these things. We passed some of these things. They made some financial changes, and they said they didn't have the money, and all of a sudden, $20 million shows up. There's probably you know, hundreds of times that amount someplace.
Right.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the chancellor.
it comes down to the same thing that it
Chancellor.
always comes down to is where is the accountability?
Right.
Yeah.
Where's the accountability?
Right.
And that's what redress is.
Yeah.
No matter what part of state government, when anything happens and the legislature authorizes this to happen,
Yeah.
because they passed the law or it's through statute and it's now signed into law, when people have been wronged, it's all done by the legislature, and it should be fixed by the legislature, and that's where redress comes in, and that's the people's only real way to fix a grievance with their government.
Well, where are we with redress? Is there any progress in terms of getting it actually? I mean, obviously it exists constitutionally, but any progress in terms of actually getting it to work so people can use it?
Thomas Jefferson said to educate the entire population. That's the only way to secure liberty.
Right.
And so that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Last year, John sponsored a petition, Stand Your Ground. There's about 700 people that have come forward, signed the petition, about 500 of them physically and the rest online.
Okay.
And that was submitted by John and co-sponsored by Al Baldessaro and Lynette Peterson. And it's sitting at the general court clerk's office and not going anywhere.
For how long? How long ago?
That was
submitted?
filed. That was put in April.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this has been sitting there almost a year.
Wow.
And as the clerk of the court, of the general court, I would imagine you're acting the same way as a clerk of any court. You get paperwork in, you have, you schedule a hearing before the legislature, Article 31. So this petition is supposed to be heard by the legislature, and in order to educate people, what we've done is we've created other petitions for Common Core, against Common Core, to repeal Common Core, Obamacare, GMO labeling, to teach jury nullification classes in high school.
Yeah.
Jury nullification is a huge issue. Nobody graduates high school knowing that there's even a constitution. Never mind that that we have a New Hampshire constitution.
Yeah.
Never mind that the issues that are important, like jury nullification and redress and personal liberty.
Yeah, I didn't know about jury nullification until it was doing this show that I learned about
right.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So much doesn't go, and every fourth grader goes to the State House, and I think they get a copy of the Constitution.
Right.
But if you ask fifth and sixth graders, I don't know if they know that it exists.
Right.
I've met so many adults that went to the State House. Now they're adults, and they didn't know we had one.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
And this is old information, 1784. I mean, this stuff has been around a long time, and
And this is a summary over here. This tan copy that you can get on page 33 has a summary that they teach kids. This was put together by two teachers.
Yeah.
And the third line of Article 1 of the Bill of Rights, the summary says that the government must provide for the general good of all the people. That's not what Article 1 says. Article 1 says, is founded in consent and instituted for the general good. The actual Article 1 is shorter than the summary.
Right? Yeah, that's interesting.
And so, what are they teaching these kids?
Government's going to take care of you.
Right.
They're not teaching accountability.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
But what we've been, what John and I and Dave Narby, Ed McFarland, some of the other...
Lynette Peterson, Al Baldessaro, a lot of representatives, they're getting this. And, one at a time, we're trying, but...
We're putting on presentations.
Putting on presentations throughout the state.
No kidding, really?
Yeah. And we're getting a lot of invitations to go around the state and give presentations.
That's good. That's encouraging.
To groups of everyone. Committees.
If you'd like us to come to your area and do a presentation, please get a hold of us. Our email is petition@nhredress.info.
Yeah.
And if you want to know whether or not your state legislator supports redress, go to nhredress.com, which is a petition form, but it's actually a commitment page. So you can click on the signature button and see if your state rep or senator has signed the petition form, which is it's a commitment to support Article 31 redress as evidenced in the Secretary of State archives, in the Senate and House journals.
Yeah.
Not what I think redress should be, but what's in the journals. What's the history? What's there? And if you support that, please go to nhredress.com and sign that. And the petitions that we have are all available. They're all itemized at nhredress.info. So,
and I've got a video on there that we went to on that website.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I've been to the archives. I've seen these. I've held history in my hand, 200- and 300-year-old documents that were written, House journals, Senate journals, redress petitions. The numbers are staggering. Somewhere close to 300,000 redress petitions. Wow. 300,000 redress petitions were dealt with in the legislature.
Wow.
And there was a time when they said, we're not going to do this anymore.
I was going to say, historically, do you know when it kind of stopped?
Redress started. The earliest petitions go back to the 1650s.
Wow.
And the last petition heard that we know of is in the 1950s. So you got 300 years of redress.
Yeah.
The Secretary of State's index of the petitioners has only been indexed up to 1820, 1821.
Okay.
And there's 2,900 plus pages in the index of names of just petitioners. And then on top of that, you got another 130 years of petitions that have yet to be indexed. So it just stopped in the 1950s, which is the same time that Legislative Services was created. So our representatives used to bring in their own bills. They used to write their own stuff.
Sure.
And in the 1950s, the legislature created, created Legislative Services, and now if you have an idea for a bill, you give it to a bunch of attorneys, and they tell you what the bill should read. So things changed, but petitions have been gone since then.
And for the viewers out there,
years.
if you'd like us to come to you, if you have a group, a gathering, you need a speaker, you want a presentation, you want to learn more about the New Hampshire Constitution, about redress, about the legislature, we'll be glad to join you and put on. We'll bring a projector with us. We've got a nice presentation.
Good sound system.
Whatever. Sound system. We'll make a nice presentation for you, and no cost. We're glad to go there. And this is not Democrat, Republican. This is everybody. Everybody should understand their rights.
Yeah.
Everybody, no matter what party you belong to.
Or it should be.
Well, they should understand the purpose of
government. We're not pushing
Right.
any particular agenda. We're not pushing libertarian, free state, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. None of that stuff.
Yeah.
We're pushing the Constitution, are everyone's unalienable rights that are guaranteed to each of us by our Creator.
Here's an easy subject. License plate scanners. Simple subject.
Right.
Article 38 says that the legislature shall make law for the good administration of government. How is a license plate scanner necessary? It says necessary for the good administration of government.
And so the key word is administration.
How is a license plate scanner necessary for the good administration of government, which is to secure and to protect your property and your rights, your unalienable rights? If you use that filter for every statute that they want to create, How is that particular statute good for the, necessary
Right.
for the good administration of government?
Right, and Article 38 is the legislator's job description. But again, like we were talking about in the beginning, when you get elected to a planning board, you think you need to restrict the people think you need to restrict the applicants.
Yeah.
And when you get elected to the legislature, you think you need to start sponsoring legislation to restrict people's behavior. Basically, that's what legislatures do. That's what statutes do. Legislature comes up with a budget for the state, and they restrict behavior. And some behavior needs to be kept into check.
Yeah.
But boy, we have some legislation that comes through that you just can't imagine that you're going to live in the world where this is going to actually be.
Imagine a world where you can't have your cows on 300 acres.
Right.
Imagine a world where you can only have 12 cows on 300 acres.
Well, what is the opposition to something like redress? Is there an active opposition to it, or is it more just kind of an apathy kind of thing where, for example, you submit a petition and then it sits there for almost a year, so there's not someone actively opposing it, but just kind of
Well, some people
apathetically approaching it?
Yeah, some people think that a Mother May I approach is best, and you need to ask permission from the master to get things. Some people really believe government should be running our lives on on all capacities.
Yeah.
And there's some that have a little bit less than that, but
But apathy, definitely.
Yeah.
definitely apathy and just not being familiar with it. It's unfamiliar territory to most people.
Right,
They've
right.
never
It's
been there.
been over 60 years.
No one's even said the
Yeah.
word redress probably till we started saying it.
Well, just like jury nullification, I never heard that word either till I started doing this show with Gary and you guys came on and talked about it. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
this is a mandate. Article 31: the legislature shall assemble for the redress of public grievances and to make such laws as the public good may require. So they shall assemble, and the public good may require. If you look up the word require back in 1828 in Noah Webster's dictionary, it says to demand, to ask, as of right, and by authority. So this is not a request of your king.
Right.
This is the people coming forward and asking nicely. When you ask your son or your daughter to take out the garbage, do you expect any results? It's no different with our legislature. You guys created something in the past that is damaging us. We're here to correct, to let you know what that is, so you can correct the laws as the public good may require. As of right and by authority, we are asking you, make the change necessary, because this is not for the good administration of government, obviously, because it's damaging me.
Right.
We have an
Oh,
incoming
sorry,
call.
John. We have a
Go
call.
ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Welcome to Rock Paper Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
Yeah, my name's Michael. Had a question.
Yes, Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is regarding a statement was just made that a lot of people think that the government should be running our lives. I was wondering if the representative could give me an idea of just how many people think that in the government where he's working right now.
How many people think the government? I don't know the count, but I know there's an awful lot of them in the legislature. There's a majority of them right now, as a matter of fact. So those are the people that are passing that legislation. I don't know how many there are, but there are certainly an awful lot of them that think that you need to ask government for permission to do just about everything, and then from there there's less.
What do you think has brought this about? Is it a general laziness among people who just would rather be spoon-fed all their lives and not bear responsibility? Or
It's part of it,
why
apathy,
are
I'm
we
sure.
going in this direction?
Well, I think it's easier. I think government allows you enough reasons to just stop fighting and lay down and
People go along to get along. And
It's easier that way. It's
lack
a path
of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge, and there's definitely
People
a path of
don't
least
know they have a
resistance.
choice.
Right.
They
right.
really don't.
Right. See, I believe, Michael, that the people I believe that the government is of the people and by the people and for the people, and the people have all of the authority, and they grant all of that authority to their legislators. And if they don't require of their legislators an exact and constant adherence to the fundamental principles of the Constitution, that somebody else will figure out what they are. And if the people are not holding their legislators accountable to them, then their legislators are going to run rogue and they're going to vote on things that will restrict them even more. And
No,
I think that's what's
completely
happened.
agree with you. And
that's what's
of
happened.
course, when we see the voting statistics, that's a big concern because people just are. They feel almost like they're giving up.
Like
sure.
it is. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
It's a bad thing. Anyway, thank you for your comments.
Thank you very
Michael,
much,
thank you
for
very much.
calling. Great call. I mean, and
Absolutely.
that is exactly right. The people, they seem to be giving up.
They don't know they have a choice.
And they don't know
really
they have the
don't
power.
know.
Yeah.
They don't know they have the power. And how many people are intimidated
Oh, sure.
to speak up to
On a simple issue like the planning board, typically when you go into a planning board meeting to get something changed on your personal property. Now, here's your property. You care very much about what that planning board's decision is going to be because it's going to affect your life greatly. And you want to make sure you get the words just right. You don't want to mislead anybody. You don't want them jumping to conclusions. And you can't afford to bring an attorney with you, so you're being even more careful because, if you had an attorney, he could handle it.
Right.
But yeah, it's ridiculous to be under that kind of pressure because you want to extend your deck 3 feet.
Yeah.
Right. We had one gentleman come in, a firefighter in Goffstown, that one of the, and he wanted to, he lives on a one-way street. There's no traffic. His house is about, 6 feet from the edge of the road.
Yeah.
But he wanted a front porch. So he said, can I build a porch and be like a foot from the edge of the road? And we granted it. I mean, I couldn't imagine why we wouldn't. There's no traffic. There's no danger.
Yeah.
He parks his car on that spot anyway.
Yeah.
So give him a. He's not interfering with anybody's enjoyment of anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's an
sure.
easy
Have
one.
a front porch and sit out there and.
It's not easy because in another town, he probably would have been denied.
Right.
Or in
They would've found a
in
reason,
another
yeah.
board, he could
In
have been
another
denied.
board.
Right, exactly.
And it depends on, elections have consequences.
Yeah.
That's another great cliche. You could vote in the candidates that will restrict you even more than I would. I certainly
The people
don't.
on this planning board, Richard Meany, John Hikel,
Mark Warden. Right.
These are the people that are making sure that the people of Goffstown have their property rights.
We are protecting
that
the
they're
people,
secured.
of the people, by the people, for the people, not of the bureaucracy for the bureaucracy. And it's so Abe Lincoln had it right. It was all about the people, not the government.
We're about out of time, but so I want to make sure we get this in before we go. Where do people go online to find out more about your campaign for planning board?
You can go to Goffstown Today. I'm on there. I don't have a website. But Goffstown Today. You can email me at teachgolfeasy@aol.com. You can call me at 625-8026 or come to my shop, Uptown Auto Repair in Bernardville. We'll chat. We can talk about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Or go to nhredress.info.
Okay, very good, very good. And I want to remind everybody, of course, too, before we wrap up, I will be, in just a few minutes, I will be on Taking Control of Your Health, discussing hypnosis and hypnotherapy at drkevinradionetwork.com, DR, not doctor spelled out. So hopefully we'll have a easier domain soon.
Matt, I heard this from from the Honorable Mayor Gatsis.
Yes.
And I'll never forget that. One of the greatest things he said, and I'll never forget it when he was campaigning, I think, or he said it. He said, "My door is always open and my phone is always on," and that's been one of my mantras also. And if anybody wants to talk to me, please don't ever hesitate to contact me.
Absolutely.
Or stop in the shop and bring coffee.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we will talk about it, and I love being able to solve these issues where someone just doesn't, they're certainly of right, they just don't know how to get something started, and I certainly am there to offer a hand when I can.
I thought you were going to say Mayor Gatz has told you how much he loves Creamland.
Mayor Gatz,
It's his favorite restaurant.
I don't blame him. Creamland's an awesome place, and I can't wait for it to open either. But Mayor Gatz I think personally he does a great job in Manchester. And being a neighbor in Goffstown, what happens in Manchester absolutely affects Goffstown.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's got to go both ways, and you need people on both sides understanding the issues of what it's like to live on that border town of the largest city in the state.
Absolutely.
And I do.
Absolutely.
And by the way, folks, I mean,
yes. Show your sign.
Yeah, I just bring this. It's one of those things that just happened to.
People
just
need to get involved.
Yeah, if you know people in Goffstown, people need to get involved. Get involved, folks.
If you don't get involved, you're going to end up with a roundabout in front of your house.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something else that you don't want. John Hikel for Planning Board, Goffstown.
All right, John Hikel and Gus Breton, thank you both very much. It's good to see both of you.
You too, man.
Hope to see you again soon. And Gary, take care. Hang in there. I'll see you soon, I'm sure. And that's it. Good night, everybody.